Welcome back to Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays, where we can sit back, relax, take that midweek break, and talk about all the fun things we found going on in the world of Linux, open source, and all that other fun stuff. I'm Vin Stone, joined every week by Jill Bryant and Pedro Mateus, and everyone showing up live. Thanks for doing that. Let's get right into it with what we've been up to. You got a new GPU.
Well, I got a new GPU, but it's actually Fedora. It's Palit GTX. Yeah. It's like the cheapo brand. It's a step below Zotac, if you want to call it that.
Right on.
But someone at the office, like, okay, I have a 1050 Ti. I have like 6 months of use on it. I need to get rid of it. 75 pounds. Like, okay, how big is it? It's teeny tiny. Oh, cool. Gimme. And yeah, I tried Unigine superposition along with the 2400G, and it basically more than doubled the score. So that's very nice.
Yeah.
Sweet. Jill.
Yeah.
Jill.
Oh boy.
How's the top of your head doing?
Yes. As everyone can see, I had to adjust my camera because my new Acer 43-inch 4K computer monitor is now on my desk, and I'm still playing with things and futzing with things. I'm going to move my camera over. So, but anyways, still a work in progress. And had a really fun weekend. Enjoyed watching Jupiter Broadcasting's live stream from Linux Fest Northwest. And some of their talks, which were wonderful. Had a real fun time with that.
Sweet. I'm glad you got the new monitor. I know you're happy about
that.
Like,
yes.
You stole it from me. You stole it from me.
Yes, I did.
True story. I posted it in our Discord because it's a refurb. You can get them for like $300, like once every couple of months when it show up. And I was like, if that's still there in the morning, I'm buying another one.
Yes.
So I was like, yoink.
Yeah.
Good times. Over here, we're being brought to you by Fedora 29, the latest and great. Wait, no, it's not. More on that at 11. From Fedora, we're doing a smoke test. Moved everything over from Ubuntu 1804, still a great distribution. Again, 1804 LTS. Kind of interesting what I learned with even 29, and I did test it with 30. Getting it installed on Threadripper, if you have a 20 series card, you're either doing it in text mode or VNC. I hadn't done that in a minute. To which all I can say to the Fedora team, progress. All right. Let's get right into it.
Speaking of which,
it is here. It is 30, and it is Fedora with a gang of new features. This comes from It's Foss, all this in our show notes. Really, the big things from this, you get the new gnomes, faster DNF, along with the release of Fedora 30. They are moving the Ask Fedora support forum to a discourse platform. I think that's neat. Outside of what I mentioned with the 20 series cards, I didn't run into any issues. Now, the Fedora 30 beta, which I tried after the 29 couldn't get up and running, it made an attempt to do a graphical display, and I even unplugged all the extra monitors, and it's like, can you do it, little buddy? It's like, not really. As soon as you moused over something, it just kind of froze up. But yeah, outside of the hard lock we had right before we went live, everything's going smooth.
Yeah, that was that one.
Pedro?
Yeah, over here, I do have the ThinkPad X240, which is all the way over there. I can't reach it right now. But yeah, it was the first install of Fedora I did on it was Fedora 28, and then I upgraded from 28 to 29, went by very smoothly, and now I did the upgrade from 29 to 30, and it went without a hitch, so very nice. There is a bit of an issue because, and Jill will get into this more, they introduced a couple of new desktops, one of which was the Deepin desktop. And it's like, okay, Deepin looks very pretty. I am the one who likes the fancy whiz-bang type of stuff. So I loaded that up and I tested it, and it's not crashy. It hasn't crashed so much. It's just that there's a lot of tearing and there's a lot of visual glitches here and there. So something is off with the Deepin packages. So keep that in mind.
Okay. So yeah, as Pedro was saying, Fedora 30 now includes Deepin Linux's Deepin desktop environment, and it also has Elementary OS's Pantheon, which I really enjoy. So I was really happy to hear that, and that will help Fedora be the distro that has every window manager in the world.
You can make Fedora look pretty now.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I was going to post a thing in Discord earlier of like, man, this Fedora 29 desktop sure rocks. And it's just a picture of my Xfce desktop. That's going to look the same no matter what distribution I use, because that has nothing to do with what desktop manager. But remember, kids, new desktop manager requires a new distribution.
Yeah, you need a whole new ISO.
That's right. You got to get a spin, man, for reasons. Red Hat, no more Fedoras.
Red Hat has a new logo. Red Hat is turning 25 years old, and it is a different company from when it was 17 years ago when the current logo was designed.
Look at that original logo, 1995, man.
Yeah, look at that. Red Hat is not only Linux, but a leader in cloud. So it was time for them to change up their logo. And there was speculation about this is because of IBM's acquisition, but no, before IBM acquired Red Hat in October 2018, Red Hat was getting ready to redesign their logo. And in fact, the way the name in their logo is spelled with a lowercase one word Red Hat didn't match how it is actually trademarked and spelled with the 2-word Red Hat. And what was really cool was the new Red Hat logo was revealed today at noon on their Relay office tower. It is an all-white Fedora logo with Shadow Man removed and the Red Hat 2-worded text against a red background. And as Ven was just showing, the Red Hat logo that is going to be used in their media has a red hat with black trim and black lettering. So they have changed it quite a bit, including the absence of the Shadow Man, which they've been talking about for a while. So now there's not a person wearing the hat.
The new logo terrifies people and causes them to levitate.
Yeah.
It causes them to go Super Saiyan. I mean, look at that blonde hair.
That's the thing, man. I mean, I got to be 100% honest. Much like the Fedora logo that we were looking at and all the changes, it's like, if you had not told me, I wouldn't have noticed.
Oh. Well, it's much more modern.
I'm kind of basic. I was like, is it red? Yep. Is it still a hat? Aha. We're good.
The big news came because there was an article earlier in the week that had like, oh, Red Hat is going to bring down their big, like, top of the building banner thing. And people were speculating, like Jill said, it's like, oh, IBM bought them. So I was thinking, so are they just going to slap the IBM logo up there?
Logo.
No.
Yeah.
As it turns out, if you look at the TechWire article, you actually see the top of the building and they have the little red hat side. It's still very, very red.
Yes.
That's the thing not to get worried about.
Yes.
Hey, everyone lost their mind. Well, at least like 9 people did. Mozilla is dropping IRC as their main communications platform. Oh no, XKCD 1782. Indeed, activate. This is 100% the whole thing. And you know what? Listen, I get it. I 100% get it. IRC is something that I've been using, you've been using for decades. Change, it's scary. But, you know, even Mozilla's like, hey, man, just move over to Freenode Unofficial if you guys want to idle in that room. And there's something to be said for that. I mean, if they're going to Discord or anything else, it makes sense in 2019. I know it's like, Vid, you don't know. I know what I'm talking about. I mean, if you want to communicate with the people using your product, IRC can be a barrier for entry. I mean, we personally use it as a litmus test for years. We're like, we have chat that anyone can access outside of Discord, but you got to be able to IRC because there's a good chance if you're capable enough to do that, you're not going to run in and be like, rah, and spam stuff and run off.
Although that does happen because Freenode.
Yeah.
And, you know, like Ven was saying, Discord is an open source, but it is the newest evolution of IRC. So that's a possibility. But I know Mozilla won't use it because it is not open source. But Rocket.chat is open source and is used by Canonical and Red Hat. So I thought that would be a good option for them.
Man, no.
Did they stipulate that it had to be open source?
No, that's just the way Mozilla rolls.
Okay, because I was reading the article and there's like, okay, it must be a product by another company or organization, can be self-hosted or a pay-for service. It needs to be accessible, needs to be a product, not a protocol. So must be a proven modern service and must support authentication. So yeah, that actually opens up a lot. But if they are going to go
Skype for business.
Yes.
I was going to say Microsoft Teams, but close enough. Oh, we use that at work. It's painful.
Oh gosh.
Just no, Mozilla, don't go to Microsoft Teams, please.
Best of luck with that. We do get a little bit of interesting news, which I never thought I would live to make this announcement. The schedule and status of Xfce 4.14. They made a little update. Yeah, they did. A little bit. Because the first pre-release, pre-1, is going to be rolling out on May 5th. Pre-release 2 follows at the end of that month, and pre-3 final freeze will be at the end of July. It's going to be like July 28th, August 11th. That's when the business gets real. We're going to get your hands on 4.14. And looking at the applications and the plugins, it looks like everything I personally use is 100% Katana. And Chat is the maintainer of, which one is it?
XF Burn.
XF Burn.
Yeah.
And he put in the show notes, he's like, I'm not sure it's going to quite be ready, but it, in all fairness, yeah, not you particularly, but there's been enough time between releases to get everything, 4 years.
And it's XF Burn. How many of you do you have, still have a physical media attached to your box right now? The one that you're watching this on. Chances are you're looking at us on a phone or a tablet or a Chromebook or one of the new fangled laptops, which doesn't even have an optical drive. So
optical drives are a thing of the past, but it's still good to have that tool there, and it'll be nice to have that along with everything else. It's like, oh, does my weather plugin work? Because I'm an old man and I need to know what the weather is. And
hot in Topeka,
right? And the sensors plug in for like, if there's everything on fire, yay, good. I'm excited to goodbye Compton. I won't miss you.
Yes.
Yeah, having a proper GLX compositor built in is, that's just kind of something that you need to have, because Wayland's right around the corner now, so might as well.
Right.
And August seems a bit early. No?
Before the eventual heat death of the universe seems like quite speedy when it... But, they were talking about they got a new release manager, and I was like, this is good to see. I mean, it's like, this is when it ships, because you need that person on the team. Be like, this is when it's coming out. You're either a part of it.
You need the producer. Yeah.
Right. It's a wonderful, thankless job, ladies and gentlemen. Trust me. Good. I'm very happy about that. I look forward to it, and it should be stable and happy, and everyone can still say it's ugly and I don't like it, and I'll laugh every time something crashes on the desktop. Gmail. Let's talk about that.
Yes. So this one isn't Linux specific, but it is very much
quality of life specific.
Yeah, it is. And it is for Chrome and Firefox. So both of those are staples of the Linux desktop. So Simplified Gmail is a teeny tiny little browser extension that hijacks the CSS and feeds it some extra JavaScript to make Gmail look simple. You just get the inbox bits, and everything else that's extraneous is hidden down one of the panes down one of the sides. And that's good. That's actually a very good thing. It's a very teeny tiny tool to make Gmail that much more focused experience, unlike Microsoft's focused inbox in Outlook, which you have to ask, why Microsoft?
Oh, gosh.
Why?
That app is a disaster. I hate Outlook. Sorry.
I gotta roll out like, first things first with this, if you're using Gmail and you're using it on the desktop, wire that business into Thunderbird. You can thank me later.
Yes.
That'll make life easier. If you wonder, it's like, why should I use a plugin made from somebody I don't, this dude created the layout for Gmail originally. You might know how to make it look right again. Which
And
this does.
it's open source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
you
it
can
actually,
go and
you
have a
know-
look at the code if you don't trust it.
Yeah. And it really does make Gmail look cleaner and more unified. I tried it on the Foxfires, and it looked really, really nice. And it's very similar to what we're accustomed to on our phones using, Gmail inbox.
They've chunkied up the
So-
Gmail app on mobile too.
Yeah, I know.
There's like, it takes a second to load.
it-
I'm like, what?
I noticed that. Yeah. And like Pedro was saying, what's nice is you can hide the main menu with a main menu hamburger button on the top left to turn on or off the normal Gmail side menu of categories, including sent and drafts, etc. And so that does definitely make it look a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
Right on. I'm happy to see that. And, if you have to use Gmail through a browser, you might want to take a look at that because I rarely have to do it. I logged into Gmail through and I was like, ooh, boy, there's a lot of stuff in there now that I'm not entirely sure that what it does. And I just
Yeah.
what was the, just be yourself, little buddy. It was a Mitch Hedberg joke about turkey. It's like, just give me the mail. Give me the mail.
Do one thing and do it well. That's the Unix philosophy, after all.
Yeah. Yes.
So, navigation, GPS, satellites.
Yes. How about
Yes.
we drop the satellites and we
That's
got
a bad
ourselves
idea, man. The following
through the stars like
Yes.
the olden times, and someone decided to take that idea. It's like, ooh, wait, so back in the olden times people went all around the world before they figured out that the earth was flat. And they managed to find their way and then come back. So basically, these folks have decided to create a way, which is, it translates of an anchor.
Yeah. Anchors
and
away.
it's basically a teeny tiny do-it-yourself astrolabe, like the old ones that the navigators used to use. And what it does is it looks at everything around you and looks at the stars and looks at basically all those two top cameras do is find points of reference, and it'll give you sort of a location of where you are. And it's all 3D printed. It's all built from stuff that you can find yourself. They do have a custom PCB that they built, but they say it's easy enough to get running with other prototype boards like your Raspberry Pis or your Arduinos.
Yeah.
The cameras are going to be harder to find, and the screen, it's very helpful, so that is definitely a must. But it is a really nice project because it's as they describe it, it's everyday materials that'll make something that'll let you orient yourself without the need of a GPS and all the satellites that requires. So it's really nice.
Yeah, I was really impressed by this. Yeah, and like Pedro was saying, it's a Raspberry Pi and Arduino project with kits and equipment you can order to make an open navigation system, which is decentralized and independent of satellites, which is really, really cool. And actually, what was so awesome about this website, it totally reminded me of reading Stuart Brand's Whole Earth catalog. It was definitely a little hippie in its writing, but very cool. But it's really an amazing project.
I think a digital astrolabe is just something you want around the house. Next time your friend shows up in his new fixie with his new beard.
You mount this on your bike.
No. And he's showing off his supreme hipsterness. Just nuclear option. You're like, here's my digital astrolabe.
Yes.
He'll choke on his wax cylinder. Play. Hey, I made a thing. If you want to come check it out,
did.
Davinci Resolve
Yes.
16, getting that business up and running on Ubuntu. The 16, but on Ubuntu 18.04, 19.10, and anything beyond that. It's pretty simple. There's a make resolve deb, which is a great little script. You put that together, you slap a couple of things, a couple of dependencies, and a hint on transcoding the free version Now, you're like, hey man, what's Davinci Resolve? It is a pro level, nonlinear video editing, compositing, color grading, audio package from Blackmagic, and it's completely free.
Mm-hmm.
However, you're using the free version on Linux, you're not going to be using MPEG 4 files, but I put a FFmpeg script in the instructions on how to get that well, not really decompressed, but converted into something akin to ProRes. Then you'll be able to use it and play with it. And that's one of the reasons I've moved over to Fedora, is because we're going to be using Davinci from here on out, and it is a lot more stable. A lot more stable under Fedora. No more spike crashes, but it works well enough with Ubuntu for you to try it out. So go do that. And there's a bunch of cool things that you can do with it, and have fun. I look forward to, the compositing stuff is terrifying because I had like religious God Ray Jordan. Like, yeah, I mean, just way too many possibilities. I was like, man,
I love it.
Well, it takes advantage of Threadripper, and it does hardware encoding. So you take like this show, I'm using, and no fault, KDN Live's a great front end, but the back end to KDN Live's Melt. Melt doesn't know what to do with a Threadripper. Rendering out this show would take 45, 50 minutes. Same quality, every other, maybe 6, taking advantage of our 2060. But yeah, I decided not to post the thing. I was going to make a GIF of Jordan. I was like, the internet's not prepared for this. It's too powerful. Let's get that out there.
Aw, well done, Ben.
Speaking of canonical.
Oh, yes. So this is Mark Shuttleworth on talking about dueling foundations. Well, I actually understand Mark Shuttleworth's concern about the OpenStack Foundation focusing on improving OpenStack rather than branching out and trying to be the be-all of infrastructure. At the same time, the OpenStack Foundation sees itself as needing to increase its infrastructure offerings to compete with the Cloud-Native Computing Foundation and its Kubernetes upstarts by Google and the like. And this was actually Mark Shuttleworth's keynote at the Open Infrastructure Summit, which formerly was the OpenStack Summit. And the Linux Foundation hosted the Open Infrastructure Summit and is the parent company of the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, of which the OpenStack Foundation is in competition with. Oh, that was a mouthful. So the Linux Foundation is actually the true embodiment of open source, not only employing Linus Torvalds, but will even host events of projects that aren't even partnered with them. Kudos to the Linux Foundation. and Ven is going to tell you even more.
Let's check with the judge on this. All right. First off, Shuttleworth, major sponsor of OpenStack Foundation. That's cool. Canonical's been busy. They've been blowing 27 OpenStack clouds because this is, part of their future. That's where Canonical sees their growth. And I completely understand that. They've talked about that because Shuttleworth believes that the OpenStack Foundation's kind of making a little bit of a mistake by trying to, branch out and do a little bit of everything, It's like, we'll try a little bit of this, a little bit of this. It's like, hey, man, focus on your core product. He's like, that's what you should do. Focus on this cloud thing we're using because reasons, man. Just focus on the thing that, however, I mean, in all seriousness, that very well could be coming from his perspective of, we've learned from our mistakes at Canonical. We had to get a little bit more focused with the projects and what we were doing. I think that's where he's coming from. And I can respect that because if it's not, there's definitely a track from the 1995 album, Jagged Little Pill, that would like to have a word with Mr. Shuttleworth.
It's from his perspective, he has a major stake in OpenStack, so he wants them to do the best that they can at being the cornerstone, basically being the infrastructure that allows him to grow his business further on top of OpenStack. And if they start branching out and they start competing with him, then that's a bit of an issue. I can totally see why he wouldn't want that. Like, what's the issue here?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we have before we get out of here? Oh, Linux.
Yeah.
Yes, more Linux.
Who would have thought? Show?
Yeah, this time, it's actually Linux proper. It's not something that's tangentially related to Linux. No. This is proper Linux, a proper experience with Linux. Chances are you've read one of Jack Wallen's articles at some point. If you've ever read a Linux article in your life, probably he wrote it. But he encountered a bit of an issue when he was trying to update Ubuntu. What was it? Ubuntu. He went from
Pop OS?
Pop OS. It wasn't Ubuntu. It was Pop. Yeah. He went from the 1804 version or the 1904 based version of Pop into the 1810. Damn it. Based version of Pop to the 1904 based version of Pop, and he ran into a bit of an issue because he uses those. He has two different trackpads that he uses, and they ran into a bit of an issue with the newer kernel, and he was able to fix it. And basically, his article boils down to how great Linux is because, yes, even if you run into an issue during a major OS update, you can go in and you can fix it yourself. And if you don't want to, chances are if you just buy a computer and it comes preloaded with Linux, you won't ever have to worry about stuff like that because the operating system that comes with it will make sure that everything works just fine and dandy. Now, being the cynical one that I am, I have to ask, how exactly is a story of a admittedly minor hiccup during an update from one major OS version to another be representative of standing out? How does Linux stand out like that?
Two reasons. The first one I would say is your ability to fix it yourself.
Yes.
Yes.
Second recency first.
But it would have been better if it was like, oh, I did a major OS update and nothing happened. Everything is still working fine. That would have made it stand out.
Listen, Dorothy. It's not how I'm kind of down with this. I mean, the dude had a trackpad.
Yeah.
Trackpad. It only worked with 4X kernel. And it's like, oh, look, a new thing's out. Let's update. Thing don't work. We've all been there, and
yes,
it was easy enough to figure out, like, oh, this thing doesn't work anymore on the kernel 5X, on the 5X kernels. That's what Pop shipped with, with the updates, with the going from the Ubuntu's. But Linux is nice and logical. It keeps around kernels. It doesn't nuke and pave. It's
yes.
Like, oh, hey, I can just roll that back, and I'm guilty of keeping way too many kernels, like to the point of like, I can't install that because boot's full. Okay, maybe we need to trim that down just a little bit. Jill?
Oh, well, I thought Jack Wellen nailed it with the difference between Linux and other operating systems. He states, Linux works flawlessly for new users. At the same time, Linux makes it possible for experienced users to tinker to their heart's content. When things do go wrong, Linux gives you all the tools necessary to fix the problems. Exactly. That summed it up very nicely.
That is the big one. That is the reason that most of us who tried Linux and ended up sticking around is like, oh, this isn't working, but if I tried this and this and this, ooh, it sort of works now.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays, unless you have like a 20 series GPU, nowadays you just install Linux on anything, and if it doesn't immediately work out of the box, you start going, oh, am I going to have an afternoon of fun? Oh, how kind.
It is the fun. The more and more Linux progresses, the less fun. There's no more like, I'm going to spend the weekend getting thing X up and working.
Yes.
Now it kind of runs. Long gone are the days of dedicated websites that would tell you whether or not you should buy a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
The Linux laptop compatibility guide.
All the ThinkPads.
You weren't even thinking about getting the wireless working. That was just a pipe dream, man. You're like, no, I'll just use Ethernet for it. But later on, mid 2000s, that was kind of a quasi possibility. Now you put it in, and you're more shocked if everything doesn't work out of the box.
Yeah, it's like, exactly. Why isn't the fingerprint sensor working? Because there's a generic driver that basically drives every single one that's on the market, in laptops at least right now. So it's, why isn't that working? Oh, it is working. I just could. Okay, cool.
They're like brilliant things, like our video encoders that we use. Oh, how do you install it? Click. You plug the USB into the USB. And I see a lot of like some of the high-end audio equipment that we have, the DACs. The nightmares people have had under Mac OS and Windows trying to get that configured. Like, how do you install that into Linux?
You plug it in. Pick up the USB and plug it in.
Firewire, baby, hard mode. Webcams, same way. There's you just plug it in. It's done. Good. But I guess the same couldn't be said. I mean, in all fairness, like, say you got a AMD video card.
Yeah, if you have like one of the 400 series AMD Radeons, it will literally just work. If you install even 1804, that's only got like version 18, Mesa version 18, it will work out of the box. It's like, oh, that I could just play a game? Okay, cool.
That's pretty neat. Before we get into the slice of pie, we want to thank the 121 beautiful folks supporting our nonsense, our little network that we do over on this corner of the internet at patreon.com/Linux Gamecast. This is where you can support the show, get some stuff in return. If you want to hear what goes on behind the scenes, we have a production meeting show called the Pre Super Shows that you can join in and participate live every Saturday, an hour before we go with LGC Weekly. You also get access to our Discord. That's where we're hanging out the other 6, 7. We're always in there. I'm always in there, and Pager's in there. Every now and then he's like, hey, I got a thing. Or just mention his name. He'll pop in just in there as well. And access to our live uncut episodes, all that fun stuff. Support those who support Linux. If not us, find somebody who's really good and go help them out. It's kind of brilliant. Keeps us loud, live, independent, ad-free. Jill, we got some new people to thank. We got 2 new patrons.
Yes, we do. We have Sean and Odung. Very cool. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, sweet.
That's pretty cool. We also have
very, very
PayPal, Bitcoin, and all that. You can find that at linuxgamecast.com. We got a little support button. I tried to redo it and organize it in the same way instead of that one page from the 90s, which was kind of retro. It needed an under construction GIF at the bottom. Stick around for your name and credits. That's a thing. All right. Let's get into it. Slice of pie.
Ooh, look at all those numbers.
And for the first one, well, you've heard us talked about, we've talked about the pie hole a couple of times. And this one is basically the same concept. And the article comes from Tom's Hardware. It's how to use a Raspberry Pi as a VPN gateway. So much like the pie hole, where it would take all the incoming connections, filter out all of the ad servers, and then not serve you the ads. This one basically takes all of the traffic and redirects it through whatever open VPN system you happen to be running. If you don't have an open VPN system, you probably do. You just need to go Google for it, because chances are your VPN provider does offer an open VPN compatibility, and that's one of the things that you will need, because they actually do a very good job of giving you all the steps that you need to set up your Pi, to basically take in, be the gateway for every other machine in your network, and then feed that back to your router, to the World Wide Web, through your VPN service. So it's just a good idea, especially if you're living in, say, the UK, where certain regulations are going into effect, which will block certain sites of a more mature content. Yes.
Pedro, seriously. I've told you, listen, I mean, stay off the Spice World website. You shouldn't be there. I know you're a fan. I know you're excited about the reunion, but just let
I'm
it go,
finally living in the UK, so there are things that I just have to accept as being part of the culture, and the Spice Girls are one of them. Okay,
He says this with his Portuguese key.
I do.
Yes.
So when I'm thinking about this, what are the advantages? This is like the whole house VPN.
Yep, it's for the entire network. Basically, it acts as the pie hole, only instead of just filtering out the ads, it routes everything through the VPN.
So do you think it would be worthwhile to like hide one of these on like a really junky low-speed VPN in somebody else's house?
I guess.
So slow?
And then they call their thing is like, why is all of your traffic going to private internet access exactly?
Botswana? Yeah, right? Route that through it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. I'm down with that. What do we have up next? Something about keeping passes.
Yeah. Password keeping Pi. This is a nice use of a Raspberry Pi Zero as a hardware encrypted password storage system. And this device can store an unlimited number of passwords, which you can access with an RFID key fob. And you can see there's a list of all the things that you need to get. There's quite a few actually, but they're easy to get and inexpensive. And of course, you'll need a Raspberry Pi Zero, an OLED display, a radio frequency IC card, a momentary panel PCB, and LED lights and solder. But actually, what's really cool is the case can be 3D printed with the included STL file. So that's pretty cool. And what I liked about it is that it displays the you put in the name of the password like a Gmail, and it displays it on the screen with your password. So
yeah, the firmware is actually really well thought out because it's got a web interface that you could just go in and set all your passwords and set the identifier so they show up on the teeny tiny little LCD.
Yeah.
And the thing that I thought was neat, it's completely unnecessary, but it's like, oh, you have the NFC fob and you put it in a slot down the side and it unlocks. It's like, oh,
it's really brilliant.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
pretty cool.
I thought this was just...
It looks nice and sharp, too. Doubles the weapon.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's probably not heavy enough to double as a weapon, but yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, you could tape it to a foot.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Secure. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of building one of these because it's definitely a more modern alternative of storing passwords than my encrypted floppy disks that I use. But
Jill,
those work real
SD
well.
cards.
Yeah.
Come on, SD cards.
Yeah. Well, there's that too. Yes. I do have a flash drive with passwords on it as well. But I still like my floppy disk method. It's so neat. Because it's what I used to do. I mean, seriously, that's what I was doing as a kid, and I'm still doing.
I'm actually imagining that work.
Here's the thing, man. I like the fact that all your passwords are easily stealable. Thank you for putting them in a portable format, so I can ignore it all at once.
No, I'm just thinking of going into work with like a USB to floppy drive thing, and you plug in your 3.5 inch and it goes teeny. What are you doing? That's my two-factor authentication right there.
Yes.
It takes about 2 minutes to log in.
I don't know, man.
Actually, I just use my 486 that's over here.
Password storage, I pretty much just use Google for everything. I have it memorized. It's a combination of like 8 to 16 passwords that are between 10 and 36 digits long. But, I'm not that old. I can still remember those.
Yeah, I can still remember my passwords, but I do have a KeyPass that's syncing up to the G drive. So there's that.
And anything I have like a real dumpy password on is two-factor, is knowing that that can be.
Two-factor is your friend. Yes, it's a bit of a pain to have to unlock your phone and go to the authenticator and do the thing, but it's just if you get that notification, it's like, this is your authentication code to log into this thing. It's like, what the hell just happened?
Exactly.
Okay, that's a very handy thing with the two-factor. You're like, all right, somebody's up to something when you get there. Somebody's oh, good try, little buddy. Sometimes, you're nice, give them 30 minutes. And it's like, try again. You can do it. Then change it. Hey, we're going to get out of here. If you would like to get in touch with us, we didn't have anything this week, but Pedro, if they want to talk about next week, they have some thoughts, hints, allegations, things we got wrong, things we got right, projects you're working on, maybe just want to tell us about. How can they do that?
There are many ways you can do that, but the best one, the most definite one that will get your comment right here, right now, unless, of course, we find the answer on the first page of Google, is by going to linuxgamecast.com. You hit the contact button. Make sure to pick LWDW from the shows you'd like to submit the feedback to, and leave us your message. The form is pretty simple. There's not even a CAPTCHA you need to answer anymore, so anything that you'd like us to know that you feel you need to get off your chest, maybe, I don't know, tell Ven to get the monitors off the shot like Jill did just before we started. You can do that. Just let us know.
All right. That's going to take us out of here. We're going to hit the music and roll the credits.
Awesome.
Maybe.
Yay.
There it is.
We
There's
love you,
music.
patrons. Yay, Ven. Yay, Pedro.
Yay, Jill. If you're not going to do it, I'll do it. Fine.
Okay.
She was doing it internally. She just didn't want anyone to know.
Yes. One less thing for Ven to tease me about.
Oh, don't worry. Ven finds a way.
Wait. You honestly think I teased you? Oh,
no. Thank you to our executive producers and producers. We love you all, and you all know who you are.